All right, Sasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
One thing like I really liked about, or at least like about your personality when I follow you on Instagram and social is that you're like super positive and you're always poking fun and stuff. Is that something you've always had since like you were a kid, or like is that who you?
Well, I think it comes and goes. I mean, I definitely have times, like I was telling you earlier, like this morning when you're doing your work, you don't save it, computer crashes, and I was like, oh my goodness, I hate everything about right now.
Right.
But then again, like what can I do, right? So then
Yeah.
it's just like even in this situation, like it's kind of hilarious too. So I mean, I guess it's just a way of seeing things, which I try to adopt. Not all the time. Like I can be super cranky too, but yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I would say I have the same outlook, but I guess for different reasons. So
Right.
like I remember when I was in university, same university as you. When I like if I don't save my work or if I just forget to do it completely, I'm like, well, I guess I'll never know how that went.
Exactly.
So I try not to worry.
It just makes things, I guess, a little bit lighter.
Yeah. Which is not very common, I would say. In general, right? Because as I don't know whether it's our upbringing or just society in general, we just tend to worry too much about life.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my mom told me that if I fell down and I start crying, she'd be like, "What are you crying for? Just stand up again. You're fine. You're okay." And then just thinking about that makes me laugh because I can imagine the whole scenario. So when that same thing kind of happens now, like I fall or I do something, I'm like, oh well, I guess I'll just have to stand up again.
So matter of fact.
Yeah.
Well, today's episode is really just to learn from you, in some ways. Mainly because you've done quite a bit with wakeboarding and you've seen a lot of successes, but through that you've also seen some failure as well. So I thought it would be good to learn from you and also have listeners kind of understand how they can get over certain setbacks.
All right.
But before all of that, I know I was reading a few interviews about you and you mentioned like your family got you into wakeboarding.
Right.
But I'm curious about how you decided to take it to, the competitive level.
Right. So this is pretty much how it went down. My mom, she started water skiing when she already had me and my brother Max. So we would, go down with her on the weekends. Eventually, because of that, we wanted to start as well. And I started wakeboarding when I was about 5 or 6, but it was really like a family activity. So we just did like once a week-ish, and I was just standing there having fun. And it was only when I was about 10 that my brother had already started competing. So I was just doing it for fun, and he started competing. And it was really cool to watch that, and it really inspired me a lot. But I never thought I could do it because wakeboarding was scary, right? I'm like, I don't want to jump the wake. Like I'm cool staying behind the boat and just like waving to people, right?
Yeah.
But then my brother came back from one competition. He was like, if you actually try, like you may be able to do this. Like, why don't you just, try? So I was like, okay. And because I look up to Max a lot on my life, so I was like, if Max says I can do it, maybe I can.
Yeah. Nice. Are you and Max competitive with each other?
No, I don't. I don't believe so because I still, I'm still the little sister who like looks up to her older brother. So for me, it's like I always want to be like him or like kind of thing, but not so much competitive.
Wow, well, that's a nice compliment for Max, I guess. Is Max still competing as well?
No, he doesn't compete anymore, but he still wakeboards a whole lot. More cable wakeboarding though.
Got it. All right. So is he still in the wakeboarding scene, or he moved on to like another profession?
Well, now he's a UX consultant. So
wow, we all give in at some point.
yeah. But like he wakeboards whenever he can, because for him it's like part of who he is as well. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I guess when you grow up with it, it's almost impossible to let it go because
it is. It becomes like part of who you are, part of your identity as well.
Yeah, and it definitely helps when your whole family is involved. There's something to do together.
It does, yeah.
So I know, you know, I want to like talk about a specific incident where you got injured. I read somewhere that you broke your right fibula. Is that correct?
I fractured it. Yeah.
You fractured it.
Yeah.
Question one: what is a fibula?
So the exact part that I fractured was like, this is my kneecap and this is your shin, right? It was just below that.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So what happened was it was called an impact fracture, where like I landed with my leg straight on top of the wake, so the impact caused a fracture on it.
And did you feel it when you landed?
Oh, it was massively painful. I remember, but also I have this tendency to overreact as well. So I wasn't sure of the extent of how bad it was. So I was kind of like in between screaming and be like, "No, Sash, you're okay," to screaming again, like, "No, you're fine." Yeah.
But and I mean, talk to us about like what was going through your mind, because I mean, when you realized it was actually a serious injury and knowing that
Yeah.
there was the SEA Games coming up, I guess in a few months or the year after.
Year after.
Yeah, I mean, what was going through your mind?
Well, it was first. I don't think initially I was even thinking about the SEA Games, because on that week was my first official like training week for the whole season to start. Like competitions all lined up in 2016, and so but at that point of time, I think when an injury occurs, like you just kind of be like, oh, what is it though? Like how bad is it, before I go into panic mode. The same day I managed to go see a doctor, found out that it's a fracture, definitely out, for the entire season. Then it kind of, from there, you're already kind of putting things in perspective. Okay, if I'm out for this amount of time, like what else do I have to do? What can I do? How much time do I have before the next competition?
Right. So when it came to, preparing like mentally and physically for whenever you were going to return, like how did you start to actually think about preparing? Because I'm going to assume that you probably couldn't even stand on your feet for quite some time, right?
Yeah, I was on crutches for a little over a month. And wow, this brings me back to then, man. Well, for a long time I tried to keep my routine, so I still continued driving the boat for the water skiers, waking up early, having some sort of like plan for the day. The rest of the time I was in front of Netflix. But when it came down to it, especially when the season started, and I saw how my competitors were doing, that really freaked me out, because I'm like, oh my goodness, everyone's improving, everyone's doing something, and I can't even do a jump on land. Like I can't do anything. So that's when like I really felt a little bit like helpless, and I
Right.
did come up with like an alternative like strategy to overcome that.
Right. I mean, was it easy to like mentally tell yourself like, I mean, because when you see all these people just, I guess, out competing you, did it occur to you that maybe this year was just you're just gonna have to let it go, or was it, are you thinking like, okay, what can I do in the meantime to get prepared?
Yeah, because so the injury happened in July 2016, and the SEA Games was a year later. So I knew I still had time, and like I think because I also see the timing, I'm like, there is no way that I'm letting the SEA Games go. Like I am going to be in top form for the SEA Games. Like by hook or by crook, I'm going to do it. So but then there's also the mental part of it, like not thinking that you are good enough, because especially with water skiing, it's a lot of practice to perfect it. And yeah, so then I started to really realize that, well, there's nothing I can do about what my competitors are doing, right? Like I can't control how they train or what they do, but I can kind of like take control of what I do and like what I think about it too. So then I really I think that was the time where I really played a lot with like visualization and like land practice.
Right.
Yeah.
How, when you were doing all these land practices and
Yeah.
visualization, how easy was it to get back into the water, when it came time, like is it like riding a bike where after a few waves you're good to go, or what was that process like?
Yeah, it was actually really cool, because I'm actually a sort of athlete that takes a while to get back in the groove after they've taken, train a time off training. But I think because I was also coaching, I was doing a lot of land practice. Like when I got back in the water, it was it was a really easy transition, and I was so thankful and grateful and relieved for that, because that was like one of the most like reassuring things.
Right. It's interesting because, you know, I'm just thinking about all the times where, I couldn't do something, because I mean, even back then when I was a kid, I was doing whatever sports for school,
Right.
or even now, for some reason, if I can't do something and I need to, do something smaller
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. Do you have like any advice on like how we should think about, how to still continue doing the small things that, help us get to where we need to be?
Well, I mean, I like to think about it as momentum, right? So like, even if we have to backtrack to like the basic foundations of it, like if that helps to build the momentum of like understanding or even just confidence, then that's what needs to be done. And it can be a little bit time consuming and frustrating, because some people can jump steps, but that doesn't mean anything, because we all end up at the same place end of the day.
Right. It's funny because in part of this podcast series, I've interviewed a few athletes. One was a lady who did Olympic mountain biking.
Wow.
And she's really cool. Yeah, if you have some time, I mean, not to promote my own podcast to my guests, but
I will check it out.
but she's got an amazing story. But also, I spoke to another guy, and Troy, and he was the track and field coach for the US track and field team. And both of them said exactly the same thing as you, like just the power of momentum and habit. Because when you're just trying to get back to peak performance, it's just getting into the groove and the cycle, and eventually accumulates. But like, I guess my question, and it was the same question to them as well, was that it's hard when you're injured, right? Because even when you're doing more land practices or visualizations, it's not the same. So how do you like keep yourself motivated, because it's not the same feeling, and it doesn't feel like you're doing much?
I think a lot of it stems from the goal that you have in mind, and like how determined that you are, how important that goal is to you. So that always brought me back when I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself and I'm feeling frustrated or angry. I'm like, but I still have this goal. Like, how do these emotions help me to achieve this goal? Or what can I do to achieve this goal, rather than just like wallow in self-pity at that moment as well.
Yeah,
I strongly believe in like goals.
it is important, but I do have a question almost to rebut that in a way, in some small way, and that is, how do you know? Because someone like you, Sasha, you're like super competitive. You want to reach the top.
Yeah.
How do you know when that obsession is detrimental to your own health? Because it's a race against time, right?
Yeah, it is. Wow, that is an interesting thing. I guess they have to be reasonable goals, and also always to keep in check with them. And having outside perspective is really important, because like what you said, when you get so obsessed with something, it becomes like tunnel vision, and we are blinded to things that may be dangerous to us. So always having, I guess, like people that you can count on to like give you their honest opinion would help a lot.
And who are those people for you?
I talk to my mom a lot. Talk to my mom a lot, and one of my really good friends, Jin, who also is he's a golfer as well, so he understands like the struggles of like being an athlete.
Right. Was your mom a professional wakeboarder as well?
No, she's not. She only started recently competing in water skiing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but she used to do horse riding as well. So yeah.
Wow, very active family.
Yeah.
So I just this is a question like I ask all my guests, and it's just for an opportunity for you to reflect also, I guess.
Yeah.
And that is, what would the Sasha of today, with all the experience that you've gathered and all the success, tell the Sasha just getting into competitive wakeboarding, so that she would maybe be more successful or make less mistakes than you might have made?
Right. I think number one would to really focus on foundation, because foundation is key. I skimmed a lot through that when I was starting out, and it really showed like in the later years. So number one is always work on foundations, because that will build you up properly. And also number two, I think, is to not worry too much about head competitions. It used to really affect me as a kid and really bring me down. Yeah, but like just to take them as it is, and not to, and make sure that it's not a reflection of who I am as a wakeboarder as well.
Why was that important, or why is that important?
Oh, well, because, with every success in competitions, there are failures as well. And I used to take those failures really hard. I'll be one of those who like cries for hours. But like further on from that as well, like when I come back to training, I start to doubt myself a lot. And that just takes a lot of time, and it takes the fun out of it as well. Yeah, because wakeboarding, especially now that I'm not doing as often, like I'm like, wow, I love wakeboarding so much, and like every moment that was on the water before, I should have been just appreciating that completely.
Yeah, I can relate. I mean, not in the sports sense, but
Right.
even this podcast, right? I really enjoy these conversations and hearing from you. And then when I post it out, I get so obsessed with how many views, how many clicks, and then
Yeah.
it just, that part of the whole equation is not very fun. So I have to consciously tell myself, like, no, that's not important. Like, the most important thing is to get people to share.
Yeah, it like the external parts of it kind of like, kind of messes up with like our intrinsic liking for something, which is very understandable, but also like knowing that is nice. It's easier to manage, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you have any like practices that you put in place so that you can try to forget about those things that you cannot control?
Mm. Well, I don't know if I can say there are concrete practices, but like if something's really bothering me, I like to write. I like to write it down, so it gains like different perspectives of the situation too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, final question. What's next for you? I know because you're in university.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
Wow, that's probably the hardest question, because I'm figuring it out as I go along.
Right.
Well, I honestly, not no concrete plans yet, but for now I know that I'm enjoying school. Still deciding on the industry that I want to focus on in the future, but at the same time I started cable wakeboarding, and
Nice.
I try to do that at least once a week. So that also like keeps me tied to my sport. At the same time I still get to learn new things on the water, so it's awesome.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
then if I could paraphrase, if you could get a dream job, what would that look like?
So hard, man. So hard. Well, as of like, this is how my mom puts it. I focus on different things, like, in a different spans of time. So as of right now, and this may change because I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to do, I don't know what else, but like as of right now, I'm looking at UX design, in particular UX research. But I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know again in like 2 months.
I look forward to that. I guess you're inspired by your brother again.
Yeah, inspired by my brother's been talking about it nonstop. So
Nice. It's funny because I was reading this article by Yuval Noah Harari. You know, the guy who wrote *Sapiens*, and
yeah.
yep. And he was saying like now is the time for essentially people like you, because you're not sure what you want to do. You are adaptable enough for when technology causes industries to change. So pretty sure you're going to be successful.
Thank you.
According to Yuval, so not my words.
Still appreciate, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you're busy with school and exams, so I don't want to waste too much of your time. But if I could just ask a parting question, and that
Sure.
is, if someone is going through a particular setback, how should they be thinking about overcoming it so that they can, achieve whatever goal they have in mind?
Right. Well, I think first of all, when I'm feeling like upset about something that didn't, kind of go according to what I planned it to be, like and then I'm like confused of how I'm feeling as well. I think the first thing to do is to be okay feeling upset. It's okay to feel upset because it's completely justified. You know, things didn't go according to plan. You're up with the amount of effort and time put in, so it's okay to be upset. And after that, then comes to, okay, but what do I still want to achieve from there? And from there, you know, that's when you make your concrete plans in order to kind of achieve that goal.
Cool. That's words of wisdom. Thank you so much, Sasha. I really appreciate you coming on this
Nicholas.
podcast. Peace.